So my name is Stephen Micheletti. I'm a software developer and a journeyman sheet metal mechanic. And one of our latest offerings for Revit MEP and fabrication parts is Works Mechanical. So one of the main things we need to move into Revit with fabrication parts is all the fabrication data. So that's one of the most important things we expect from a fabrication add-on. And so I've got this this elbow selected here, and it's got some straight on it. And if we go to the properties palette and we scroll down to the other section, you'll see all these VM parameters, and this is all of our fabrication data. And this data is updated live as long as you have auto update turned on. So if I change this elbow in any way, this data will automatically update. This gives us a lot of data that doesn't come with Revit out of the box. For example, here's all the ancillaries. If this was a square elbow and you say you had your turning vane tracks set up in the database as an ancillary, you could actually pull linear feet of turning vane track right here in Revit. Here's all the dimensions. So say you're working with a fabricator that doesn't necessarily work with CAD duct. You can schedule everything they need to know to build it. Here's all the dimensions, the connector types, the service, the material, the gauge, everything is here. There's also a lot of other good stuff here like connector count and connector perimeter, which enables calculations like weld inches, for example. You could make a schedule and take your total connector perimeter and divide it by 2. And that's just assuming that every connector shares its weld with an adjacent connector, and you can just easily pull an estimate of weld inches or something like that here. So lots of good stuff here. Center line length, for example, with Revit out of the box, you're not going to be able to pull a center line length on that, but this will give you that. There's 1'8" center line length on that T, and that enables you to do all kinds of cool stuff like calculate wet weight, volume, linear feet, stuff like that. So lots of good data here. And again, you can use all of this data in tags, schedules, and filters throughout Revit. If you have any questions or you want to see anything specific, go ahead and feel free to stop me at any time. Any questions on that, guys?
Not yet.
Okay, so like I said, that data is controlled here through Fab Data. And if this is on, it's going to constantly update this data whenever you change anything about any fabrication part. Now, this is heavily optimized. It's very, very fast, but there is some computational overhead in this, and that's why it's optional. You can turn this off, and then you'll no longer be updating this stuff as you draw, right? But you can always come back here, and then you can update just what you selected. You can update your entire work set, or you can update everything in all work sets. So we'll just come up here, and I'll say update all. This is going to update all work sets. Yes, okay. And there it did 569 items in like, 2 seconds. So it's very, very fast when you're just working with 3, 4, 10 parts at a time. It's not something that you're going to feel, but it is optional. One of the reasons you might turn this off is when you're reloading the config. You don't have to, but let's say you're doing 10,000 parts, you're really reloading the config, you might want to speed that up a little bit. You can turn this off. So what's next? Okay, there's the, so speaking of Fab Data, we do offer this properties palette. It's going to give you data, real-time data on anything that you select. So here we have a radius elbow, the CID is 4, the type is rectangular duct, the service, the specification. So it gives you all this real-time data, but it's also, so you can change any of this data. Like for example, you can change the length on this to 16, for example. You don't have to open that separate window. It's all here. You can also change connectors right here, and you can do multiple parts at a time. So say, for example, I have some cut sheet on some barrel diffuser that's supposed to fit these tabs. I can go ahead and tab select, come up here, and say, just give me those tabs. So this also functions as a really quick selection filter for all kinds of good stuff here. So I was able to just select all those tabs all at once, and I'm looking at this cut sheet, and I say, okay, I need a 20-inch wide tab. by 18-inch tall, and I need a 1-inch flange in or a 2-inch flange in. You can change this all right here, multiple parts at a time, which is really cool. Say, for example, and this is a common task, I'm working with all this chilled water pipe, and say I want to number it, but I don't want to number gaskets, welds, and valves. So what I can do is come up here to my items, and I can, so right now this is in select mode. I can change this tool to remove mode. And now when I select stuff in here, it's going to remove it from my selection. So there's gaskets, remove all those gaskets. Or I can find them just by type, put type in remove mode, remove those valves, remove those welds. And now I'm just stuck with bolts and pipework, get rid of that pipework. And now I just have pipework. That's good. I can go ahead and number that. So all kinds of good uses for that, especially when you're scheduling or numbering and tagging. So this is very, very useful. All kinds of stuff in here. You can change the part number, the status, approved, cut type. Well, some of these are read-only. Cut type, for example, is read-only, but you can search on this value and select and all kinds of good stuff there. Material thickness, bought out, installation. Also, elevation. There's an elevation tool here, which is different than the one that's built in. So I select that. Go to properties. I do have some elevations here, but for example, here's this sloped floor drain service. So I'll select that, and if I go to the VM tab, elevation, this introduces the concept of highest and lowest elevations to fabrication parts. So I can say, what is the lowest point on that pipe? And that's going to give me -3'3" and some 30 seconds. And that's to the very bottom, the flow line. You can say, what's the highest? And that it's going to be -2'6" and some 30 seconds. And that's to the very top of the pipe. You can look at it from the center, the top, the bottom. And I can also change the highest and the lowest right here if I wanted to. Now, one thing that this will do, say this -3. This will disconnect, which is different from the built-in tool here. But there's different tools that you would use if you wanted to keep that pipe connected. So there's that. So that's going to help a lot as well, not just filtering the stuff that you're working with, but also modeling the stuff that you're working with as far as connectors, sizes, editing multiple parts at once. Okay, so there is some other modeling tools here. We have a line MEP, and pretty much all competing MEP software has this tool. It's the easiest tool to make, so they like to show this off a lot. One of the things that you can do with any of these is you can use the hotkeys. So if I hover over the tooltip here, it says the hotkey is VAM. Now to get these hotkeys, you come up here and say, go ahead and import my VMboard shortcuts. It's going to give you defaults for all of these. Now you can change this. The default for a line MEP is VAM, but you can change it to anything that you want. And then also the tooltips will give you some information on sort of the way that you should select items and the order in which you should do things. So I'm going to go ahead and use this Align MEP tool, VAM. I'm going to select here and here and see it stretch this pipe and this pipe, and then everything stayed connected. I can do it again here, VAM, from there to there, and it moved that T and everything stays connected. Now, sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't, especially for ductwork. A lot of times you do not want that. So one of the things that we can do is go ahead and let's delete this. Let's change the length of that. Oh, that's not the length, that's the diameter. Undo. Let's change the length of that. 12 inches, no, let's do 24. And what we can do is we can just go ahead and just grab that little segment of this MEP system. And there's another tool here called Move MEP. Now this will disconnect it from anything not in the selection, but it'll also rotate to match the connector you're trying to get to. So we're going to go ahead and select all that. What is the hotkey? VMV. So we're going to select all this. We're going to say VMV. This bottom left corner is going to tell you, what it wants next. So it selects so it's asking us to select the origin element near the desired connector. and then select the destination element near the desired connector, and it's went ahead and moved that VAV box along with that the canvas connection and the transition. Let's go ahead and make that transition flat on the left. Do that right here. We'll go ahead at an elbow, straight. We can select all this, do it again, V and V, there, there, and you can see that's going to really help us model a lot faster. Being able to have these tools at your disposal.
With that VMV command, did it connect the duct as well, or just move it in place?
It's actually connected, yes.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, and we have some really good connection tools that I could show you as well. You can select everything and say connect, and it's just going to do a really good job of going through. Even taps, that's one thing that competitors' connect tools aren't going to do for you. If the tap is not connected to the straight, it's not going to fix that for you. This will. For example, let's do that right now. I'll disconnect it. And so that tap is no longer connected. See, it's not selecting. You're just going to grab all that and say connect. And now it's connected. So we have really good connection tools to help you keep all this stuff connected. And it's good to keep it connected because a lot of the automation tools kind of depend on it being connected. They need to know, each part needs to know what it's connected to, right, for the automation tools to work well. Again, let's undo this. We can copy MEP, which is just the move MEP tool, but it allows you to copy. So let's undo all this. Okay, let's start from here. We're going to say copy MEP. I'm going to take everything at the end of this VAV box. And I remember that the hotkey is VCO. VCO. Select the origin element near the desired connector right there. To here. To here. To here. Yeah. Okay, so that's all connected, see? And yeah. And you may have a lot of typical VAV boxes, especially if you're working with classrooms or hospital rooms, stuff like that. Then what we can do is go ahead and select all of this and use the hotkey for auto hanger, VAH. Now, our hanger algorithm does coordinate with taps and OLEDs. No other hanger algorithm does this, which basically means if you're working with taps and OLEDs, then their hanger algorithms are useless. You're much better off just putting them yourself because they're all going to be wrong. So that's one thing that it does do. This is all controlled. If you select anything, you can come up here and so all of our automation tools are driven by service. So I selected this and it's going to take me directly to that service. We're in the 4-inch water gauge service, and I can set line colors and fill colors. And I have different specs for rectangular, round, and oval. And so for rectangular, I could drop down my hanger specs. And this does go by half perimeter. No other hanger tool does this, and half perimeter is Smagna. Now, if you're working with pipe, it's just going to be max diameter, what you would be expecting. But for rectangular ductwork and oval ductwork, it goes by half perimeter, which is nice because that's how Smagna works. So you can just basically enter your hanger specs one-to-one with the Smagna tables, using the bearings and the all thread that you prefer. So right now, anything up to 999 half perimeter will get a trapeze hanger, and so it's showing me all the hangers within the 4-inch water gauge spec. If the hanger you want is not in here, we need to get it in the spec and reload the config. So anything up to 999 will have trapeze hanger, and you can hover over most things, and you'll get a tooltip. So if you're not sure what some value does, you can hover over it either here or here, and it'll usually give you a tooltip. So this is just the maximum spacing between hangers. You enter this in imperial inches and metric millimeters. Minimum spacing, joint offset, so distance from connectors. Rod clearance, this is for trapeze specifically. you can say, I want all my rods to be 2 inches off the insulation or 2 inches off the metal. And then you can also round this value. Well, you can round the bearing increment. Say, I don't want any, 4 foot 2 3/8 bearings. Just give me a 4 foot 3, right? So you can, or 4, you can round to the nearest 2 inches or 4 inches or whatever. Rod extension. Revit has a feature where if you're hanging under a structure, the rods will automatically extend to that structure. And if you want to push the rods further into that structure, you can do that here. And support joints, this checkbox is more for services where the couplings aren't very load bearing, for example, roof drains and stuff like that. So if we go look at piping, what is it? No hub. No. We look at this service. Yeah, no hub. Oh, under round, right? Correct. There's no rectangular. You will have a rectangular tab for piping services, but just ignore it. And that's something we'll get rid of in the future, I think. But for no hub, we do have this checked, and I can kind of show you what that does. So if I go select, now I could absolutely just hang all of these services at once. Could do that. Don't recommend that. You are going to want to just kind of hang a service and then check it out, make sure it looks good, and then hang your next service. But we'll go ahead and hang this roof drain. So BAH. Now I selected it all and I hung it all at once. So that means it just says, okay, I'm going to hang it in the direction that it was drawn. But as you see here, we're getting a coupling, we're getting a hanger close to every coupling, which is what you're going to want for a service like this. Now, when you're setting up these values, so minimum spacing is a restriction and joint offset is a restriction. So the more restrictive you're being with this, the less hangers you're going to get. So like we might not have got a hanger here depending on how restrictive our hanger spec was. And you might find that it's going to miss a hanger. It's not perfect, right? But it is the best. I'm confident in that it is the best fabrication hanger algorithm on the market right now. But say it didn't give you one here, we do offer. So we can come up here and we can say, give me a manual hanger. We can say, put a manual hanger on this straight right here. Now in this way, I didn't have to go pick the hanger, right? Show service. Go to hangers, and then I have all these hangers to select from, and I'm not sure at this size pipe with this size insulation, what the hell hanger am I using? We're not leaving that up to the designer. That's all, built right. You're still getting the hanger in the service that was spec'd, right? But you can place them manually now wherever it's missing one. So, what is it? Hanger manual VMH. So VMH. Give me one on this pipe right here. Enter to repeat last command, give me one here. Enter to repeat last command, give me one. So I'm gonna do all that. Okay, so we have some pipes here. Now, we can control the direction, like I said. So if I say hanger, auto hanger, if I select this side, it's going to go from here to the other end. So there, it started here and it ended there. Let's do it again from this end. Right. So you can do it like that. Undo, and then you can also select the whole thing. Auto hanger. Okay, and if you are using clevis with supply and return side by side, you are going to want some cohesion so that you're hanging from the same steel above, right? So here we accidentally got cohesion because these two lines are pretty much identical, but as soon as we turn the corner, we didn't get any cohesion anymore. So we can tell the hanger algorithm that, hey, I want to hang racks. So let's do that, undo this, and that's a different tool with a different spec. So rack hangers, I can use a trapeze, right? But I can also just use the service specified hanger, which is clevis for these. And also this is very, very heavy pipe, so you probably want to use clevis hangers anyways. You just want them to be cohesive. And so this is the spec here. It's the same as the spec under the services, but because this is multi-service, it gets a separate spec because you could have multiple services right in a rack. So now that that's set up, I can go ahead and say, give me some rack hangers. And then if there was more pipes in this rack, I could select them now, but there's not. So I'm gonna hit escape to finish the command. Hit enter again and go ahead and do this side. So now we have some cohesion. These are all hanging from the same steel above. Now coordination on the branch itself is handled because, like I said, it does coordinate with taps and OLEDs, but coordination issues are still a thing. That's really easy to handle. Let me grab these two at the same time. Bump it over there, right? Grab those. Right. So there's that. But also, let me go ahead and undo this. Let me adjust these hangers here. Hanger spec, but this time I want to use these. Like this really heavy pipe. You actually wouldn't do this, but you can. Let's pretend this is a plumbing rack or something, and we can say rack hangers from here to here, rack hangers from here to here. Right. We can use trapeze as well. That's nice. So some of the other things that we can do with the services. So we saw that the services are driving hangers. They're also driving openings and assemblies and tags. Let's go ahead and show tags real quick. So there's lots of tags in here: size tag, elevation tag, number tag, offset tag, length tag. And there's a lot more coming in the next update, but this really automates your tag placement. It's going to save a lot of time. You can use any of your own custom fabrication tags that you create, and then it gives you some locations options. You can put it on C1, C2, and really what you end up with is, let's see here, something like this. So you can have a tag anywhere on any part in these 15 locations. And then there's also some offsets here, so you can offset it even more from these locations. And once all this is set up, there's also some other options here where if the tag doesn't fit in the part, for example, for the number tag, we have it set to center or above. So it's going to try to put it in the center. If it doesn't fit, it's going to put it above, or we could go below and stuff like that. Auto tag is just basically, do you want the auto tag function to use this tag? And then when you have that set up, you can do something like this. So let's go into this view. And let's lock this. Go ahead and select this whole line here. And we're going to auto tag, which is VAT. So select everything, type VAT. And a lot of people, they're using programmable keyboards and multi-button mice, and you can have buttons for each of these. You don't have to remember the hotkeys. But we'll hit VAT, auto tag this. Now this will take a minute because it is sort of looking at where everything, what is each piece connected to? Can I fit this tag here? Should I move this tag? So for example, if we read the tooltip on the auto tag tool, it does give you some kind of idea of how it's working. It's going to automatically place spec-driven fabrication tags where directly connected to size, shape, elevation, or branch changing fittings. Now that's kind of the global rule that's baked in right now. In the next update, you're going to be able to have other rules. Say, for example, you only want to put length tags on short joints. You'll be able to select that rule here. Or say you don't want to put length tags on fittings, only straights. You'll have multiple rules that will be in this box here. Right now it's just true or false, but there's a lot of stuff coming here. But you can see that's done. Like I don't have to mess with that. And if you set your tags up in a way, like if you notice, my size and elevation is on C1, my numbers are on C2, and in that way, I'm pretty sure that size and numbers are never going to be overlapping, right? Because they're on two different sides of the part. I have it's automatically putting offset tags for me. And I have that set to C1 with some tiny offset. This is all set to bottom center, right? If you notice, this doesn't fit in the tab, so it moved it out automatically for you. And that's really nice. If these didn't fit, it would move them out for you, right? So that's really nice. It's really gonna help with your tags, right? You're not gonna have to mess with them too much if your settings are good. Yeah, so there's that. Any questions, guys?
So I've been using the trial, and for whatever reason, when I go into the tag settings,
Uh-huh.
and I try to change it to our tag families,
Sure.
I only have one of our tag families show up.
Sure, that's good. And I do have some documentation that I'll show you guys, but here's some of the rules here. So one of the things that that has to be true for these to show up here, if it's not showing up here, the problem is if you go into this tag family, and I believe it's under this has to be checked. And this is a limitation with Revit. They didn't do a very good job implementing fabrication tags to begin with. One of the reasons is, for example, situations like this. You really want, like, if you have duct in all different directions, you want it to be rotated with the duct, right? And that doesn't happen unless this box is checked. But another oversight is in earlier versions, that only works for straights. You can have that box checked all day long, but the fittings are still always going to be square with the view. Now you do have two options. When you select a fitting, you can come up here, properties. And so this is a rotatable one, so you can kind of go vertical with it or horizontal, but that's all you get. Now, I'm in 2024, so you can actually do this. And so, but you can't do that in previous versions. And so that's another thing that we're implementing. In older versions, because of these shenanigans, VM actually uses two tags for everything. There's a VM duct number tag rotatable, and it uses those on fittings. And then there's a VM fab duct number tag, and this is the one with the align with part box checked. So you make one with the align with part box checked, it will automatically make this one for you, and it will uncheck this. But this one will not show up. You do have to have that box checked. There's a few other rules. It has to be a single type family. Also, when you're making these, make sure that your label, it's a good idea to start with one of the default ones and customize from there, at least until you get the hang of it. But you do want to make sure
that's a pretty minimal change. But yeah, I think all of ours or most of ours are multi-type families.
Yeah, so, and that's fine. You can have all of those and use those for manual tags, but for the automation, it does require some consistency, right? So you might have a separate set of tags that are used for automation only. Like I said, you definitely should, because this is awesome. This is really going to help. But that's not saying that you can't have all of your other tags and the fanciness that comes with multi-type. But for automation tags, they do have to be single type for now. We might consider adding multiple types. And like I said, the requirement that this box be checked is also going away, but not yet. But so that's the reason you're not getting those. But that's a good question. We can also do racks of pipe. So tag, rack tag, like the straights, and then finish, and then pick the side that we want it. I can pre-select and hit enter. Pick that side. Pre-select and hit enter. Pick that side. So that there's multiple pipes here, and it would, of course, tag them all. So that's really nice. And also, you do have some control over how far these are off the pipe, and that's going to be inside of your services. There is that. We covered hangers, tags, openings. Let's unlock the side view here. Another thing we could do, which is really nice for this tool, I'm going to select everything and I'm going to say, just give me hangers. Bam, that was easy. Delete them. So now I have a clean model to work with, and I'll show off some of the openings. So openings are also service specific. So if we go to opening specs, we can oversize the, and this could be sleeves, this could be blockouts, could be anything. They do have APL points in them. So you can export these points, which is nice. So oversize is going to be inside dimension plus insulation plus whatever you put here. So it's automatically going to oversize your openings and your blockouts, and then you can add length. And so, like if the wall is 12 inches, you can add 4 inches, right? And you have a 16-inch sleeve. Size increments, never give me a 13.5 sleeve. Always give me a 14 sleeve, right? As long as it's divisible by this number, then we're good. Length increments, same deal. Never give me a 13.5 inch long sleeve. Always give me a 14. And this is just some extra data you can put here. Blockout, sleeve, right? Or you could also, if you wanted to tag the service along, welded, or whatever, there's extra data here that you can use. And once that's all set up, now I could absolutely just select everything and say, auto sleeve. Now what this does, it's going to find any intersections between other modular elements, and it does work with linked elements. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to heavily use view filters to filter out anything in the link or anything in the model that you don't want to sleeve. So I'm only showing, for example, structural walls. I'm not worried about sheetrock walls right now. Just show me all the structural walls, show me the slabs, show me the roofs, and let me make sure I get our openings. Let me make sure I get our openings in those things. So once I've got the view filtered, I can come up here and go to, okay. Openings, and I can auto opening, right? And that's VAO. So what I can do here is I'm going to go ahead and select these fire dampers. Say VAO. Bam. And it's oversized based on whatever I had set up in fire dampers.
Are those fire dampers in your fabrication palette, or are those independent families?
These are actually ITMs. This is CID 502, and it's one of the ITMs that we do support. There's families. It will do families as well, but it's not gonna. It's just like, but fire dampers are weird in that they have a hat, right? The connector's not necessarily centered on the opening. This is, if you use CID, it is going to be smart in that but it may not work how you're expecting if you use a family, but you can sleeve families. So that's a good question. If I come over here, like these two pipes, BAO, is that it? Yeah. Go ahead and sleeve those. Select that. Enter the repeat last command. There's that. Just sleeve there. What I can do is I can go ahead and select this whole drain service. VAO. Bam, I got a sleeve at that clean out. Sleeve. Drains. So that's really nice. But say you don't trust your linked model. Well, you can absolutely place manual openings. And that's just going to ask for a straight and a point. So I said manual opening on this straight right here. Enter. This straight right here. I can pre-select, enter, and then it's just going to ask me for a point. So in that way, run around and place sleeves manually, right? There's that. And like I said, there are points here. Those are APL points, so you can definitely export all those points. There's all the point data. It's all.
Steven, question on these as well. Again, I've kind of been messing with it a little bit on the trial. We typically use our own family for this. It looks like it auto places yours, which isn't an issue since it has the GTP points in it, just like ours.
Right.
But I did get a prompt when trying to use it that it needed to be in a 3D view. Is that still the case? I'm using a 2021 version.
Our tool is forcing that. I don't think it has to, and we could probably take that requirement away. But for now, it does. You are correct. But you can kind of do it in a plan view, but it still has to be a 3D view. Yeah, so you're going to want to make a 3D view specific for sleeving. Another thing you can do is if you're just in a plan view, is this tool. And this is really handy because you want to get in on that toilet or that bathroom. So you just select that toilet or that bathroom, right? And then you come up here. And what is it? This one? No. This one. This is going to give you a 3D view without having to make one, right? And so this tool is really good. Just go around in your 2D view, grab stuff out, then you get a 3D view and you can sleeve that real quick, right?
Got it. Yeah, just the models we work in are usually, about 20 times bigger than this. So making a ton of 3D views is really taxing on time.
Sure.
If we can get it unlocked to work in a regular, RCP or plan view, I think that would be the better course for us.
Okay, cool. I'll definitely look into that, and we do have an update coming more towards the end of the year, but I'll make sure that if we can do that, we will do that. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Assemblies. What are we doing on time? Oh, good. Okay. I'm going to open another drawing here for assemblies. Now, under services, when we create assemblies, we can. It does have a bounding box algorithm, which is really cool. It'll sort of figure out the tightest bounding box around your assembly, and then and you can set some warning points here. So you want to make sure that this assembly fits in the connex, or this assembly fits on the trailer, or this assembly fits through a door, or some underground pathway, something like that. You can set a max bounding box here and a max weight. I haven't done this in a while, but let's set something ridiculous, like max weight 10 pounds. Cool. And that's for welded threaded under round. So we said max weight is 10 pounds on that. Now, there's a lot of different tools. Now you can actually absolutely make assemblies through the standard AutoCAD tools. The sheets are still going to work and all the tools will still work. It does give you VM does give you some more tools here. You can create assembly, and that's just box stuff and create assemblies out of boxes. Pick assembly allows you to kind of just pick along the run, and then it'll kind of create assemblies for you. You can add to assembly, remove from assembly, delete, and select, and then there's some assembly settings here. Now, what this is asking you is, well, what do you want the VM assembly tools to do? Do you want them to make proper assemblies, or do you want to make parameter-driven assemblies? And there'll be more parameter-driven assemblies in here next update. But right now, you can make a sub-assembly, and this is not really assembly; it's a parameter-driven assembly, which is useful for certain things. I accidentally escaped out of that. Let's go back. We're going to make proper assemblies for now. Now, this is a include taps. So when you're picking along the trunk line, do you want to include the taps without picking them? And for ductwork, generally you do. If you're making assemblies out of ductwork, you probably want to cut the taps in and manifold them, so that's checked. Exclude end couplings. This is basically field welds. So when I pick two ends of pipe, and then I keep going on to the next one, sort of the weld between the two assemblies, leave those out. That's a field weld. That's what this checkbox does here. Also, assemblies are assemblies. They're not spools, so you can make assemblies all day long, but when you make MAJs, CAD, CAM, and S, they don't know what an assembly is. But CAD, CAM, and S does have a value called spool name. So with this box checked, when you're creating assemblies, it's going to go ahead and push that assembly name to the spool name. So now CAD, CAM, and S are aware of your Revit assemblies. So there's that. And then as you're creating them, you can kind of override fill color and stuff like that. So you can visibly see where you've been and what you've spooled. So now that that's done, and now remember I set a max of 10 pounds. And for assemblies, this is dry weight. We do also do hanger loads, which I can show you later if you want. But hanger loads is wet weight for pipe, so that's also important to know. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to create an assembly. And we're going to pick assembly, and this is process cooling, we'll say. So PC1. We'll start with PC1. Select OK. We're going to go from here to here. Now, assembly spec exceeded. We're getting this warning because max weight we said was 10 pounds. And it's saying that this is 381. What do we want to do? And this would also trigger, right now our max size is unlimited. It will give you the size. This is 123 by 41 by 37. This is in inches. But it doesn't, max size is unlimited. We didn't set a max size, but we did set a max weight. So it's giving us a warning here, and we can go ahead and create or cancel. We're going to go ahead and create. Okay, so now, and I could continue picking down the line if I wanted to, but I just hit escape. And if we look at this, we can see that's made PC1. Okay. Now let's go ahead. Let's turn off that ridiculous weight. 0 is unlimited. So we're going to go ahead and say that. And let's make some duct spools now. So the symbol pick assembly. We're going to say supply error 1. Okay. We're going to go from here to here, and that's made supply error 1. And notice it's included the tabs for me. I didn't have to pick those. I could keep going down the line. There, it's supply error 2, and I could just keep going if I needed to. Escape out of this. See here we have supply error 1, and we have supply error 2. So now that that's done, we just need to make some sheets. So what we can do here is select pipe. Come up to the sheets. The first thing it asks is, what do you want to make sheets for? So we can make sheets for our proper assemblies, and then remember the parameter-driven assembly. We can make sheets for those. And then we have packaging tools as well, which are similar. We have assembly and then package, and these are similar, and you have some packaging options here as well. And sort of a package is, just some portion of some model. Could be a rise, could be a chase, it could be 10 spools, whatever you want. This gives you a way to package up your project and organize it really quickly, and then you can create sheets out of packages. You can select single packages and all kinds of cool stuff there. But we're going to go ahead and select this, go to sheets. We do want to make a sheet for an assembly, and there's lots of setup here, but basically you can create as many views as you want, and you can create as many schedules as you want for each sheet, right? And then you can set up sheet titles and stuff like that. Select your title block. This is just a title block family. Your company's standard title blocks will be here if they're loaded into the model, and you can pick them here. Now, once this is all set up, say this company does our process cooling like this, and then we save the template. So we're going to go ahead and load our process cooling template. So the people who are spooling, they don't have to set this up. They just need to load it, load the company standard, right? So this is process cooling. And we do, so we can actually edit the sheet parameters here. Approved by, checked by, designed by, drawn by. These are just parameters that come out of box for sheets, but you can add more parameters to sheets. And if you did, they'd be here. And you can set your own custom parameters for sheets here, and it'll set all those. So say you're driving some fancy stuff on your title block based on these parameters, set them all up in here, and your title block will be all nice the way that you want it to work. prefix and suffix are not necessary. So now we're going to make the views. And I want 2 views side by side, ISO and plan. So first thing we need to do is make a view. We're going to name it ISO, and then it's going to give me a type. And now these are all proper Revit views, sections, plan, and 3D. Now I do recommend that you use 3D views for spools and even fancy details like a gang bathroom or something like that. 3D view would be nice to work with. Now you can absolutely just use sections and details and stuff like that. But also, if you did want a top view, you can use the top 3D view. So you're getting a plan view, but it's still got all the flexibility of a 3D view, right? If I wanted to plan ISO. But here I'm just going to use a 3D view for the ISO. And this is the sheet template. Now this is very important. This is just the standard sheet template. This controls basically everything. What is the scale? What is the color? What is visible? And if you're familiar with sheet templates, it's all here. Now I do have one out of the box made specifically for these spools, and you will have as well. So I'm going to pick that, and then viewport. This is just a viewport family. What does the call out look like? Do I even want to see a call out? This is the one that comes out of the box, and there's only one in the project, so I only have one option here. But you will have more if you have more viewports. And then the next thing is, where do we want this on the sheet? So I want it to line up with the left side. The left side of this view, I want to line up with the left side of my title block. And then I want to offset 2 inches. If you're using metric, this would be millimeters. Y offset 0. And so that's my ISO view. And then I'm going to have another plan view, except I want it to be top view, but I'm going to use a 3D view. Same template, same viewport, except this time it's going to line up with the right. We're going to offset -2. So that's real easy. And once you get the hang of it, and a lot of people, they like to just make a bunch of views and then just line them all up with the bottom right corner, and then they pick the view, right? And then I want to use this view for this spool or this view for that spool. You can absolutely do that. You can do 100 views and pile them all on top of each other and delete them when you decide which exactly view that you want. So there's that. And then so views also have parameters. Now I don't have any parameters attached to views right now, but if I did, I could edit them individually here. Edit the parameters for that view, edit the parameters for that view. And the schedules are the same thing. I can have as many schedules. Say my valves were families, I could have a valve family schedule in here along with my fabrication pipe schedule. Same thing here, I can edit parameters for the individual schedules. I don't have parameters attached to schedules in this project, but if I did, they would be here. Delete that. And then the same thing, what's the title, which template? I want to use the VM pipe schedule template. And where is it? Top of the sheet, the 1/2 inch offset. And now that that's done, if you remember, I pre-selected, so we can just create the sheets. And it has created the sheets for us. If we go to project browser, assemblies, we can see we have the supplier assemblies that we made, but no sheets. But then we did create sheets for this. There's that. There's the 3D view. There's the plan view. There's the schedule. And here's the sheet. And that's set up exactly how we wanted it to be. I might want to move this down. So now what I can do is go ahead and detail this real quick. I'm going to select this view, come into here. Now this is process pipe. Say I don't want a number of welds. Come up here, just give me the pipe work. Now there is no welds in here. So now I can just number. So VM number tag, which is BNT. And right now I have number tag set to center C2. Now say I didn't like that. One of the things that we can do is, so that was the service driven tags. But say I wanted to override. So what I can do is select all this again, give me just the pipe work. Now the override key, it'll tell you here under tags. There's the number tag. So it says hold break to override spec location, right? So what I'm going to do is hold break, pause break, and then type VNT, and now it's going to ask me, okay, well, where do you want them? This time, put them on the center above with the 2 inch offset. Great. Okay. No, don't like that. Undo. select, let's go pipe work. I'm going to hold pause break, V and T, give me below center. That's fine. Okay, we're done with that. Let's click out of here. I'm double click into here. I'm going to unlock this view. Now, one of the things that we do, this almost impossible to do out of the box, is to dimension multiplanar spools, but VM enables you to do that real easily. So what we can do, we can come up here and say tags, and we're going to say dimension MEP. Create a work plane and dimension through the selected MEP element. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to select this pipe. We're going to go from here to here. Enter. Right. What was the? Let's get out of that. What was the hotkey? VMD. So I'm going to say VMD here to here to here. Boom. VMD here. And this is a true 3. And so that's basically done. Depending on how much you want to detail this, you can go crazy. I can come in here, we'll click into this view. Give me just the pipes, and then give me a length tag on the pipes. Oh, let me lock the view now. Okay, give me just the pipes. Give me pipes, and then I'm going to pause break VNT, remember tag, and give me above 3 inch offset. Now this is like I said, this is I actually had welds selected there. That's why we're getting the question marks. I should have filtered those welds out, but notice this is a sort of the limitation that we have in earlier versions. In these versions, in 2024 specifically, you can 45 that, but that's going to be a different angle, right? In this specific view. Like I said, this is good for previous versions, but not ideal. And since they've added this, we will be also adding this in the future. But that's really nice. That's done, and we didn't spend a whole lot of time on it. Let's go back. Go ahead and do it for the duct. We're going to go pleats. Right, and the same. I want the same thing actually. So this is going to be by air spools, but this time I don't want a pipe schedule. I want a duct schedule, right? Just call this duct schedule. Right. This is that's pre-selected. So we go and create the sheets. Bam, it's created 2 sheets. Yeah, let's say 1. Let's say 2. There, right? And then same thing. We could just detail this real quick. View. Okay, number tags. What was going on there is I was selecting the assembly and not the individual parts. What I needed to do is actually tab select and then V and T. There we go. For this specific one, I don't need any special dimension tool. I can just use the regular one. Okay, because it's all on the same plane, right? There. I I go to the center of the tap or the edge of the tap. That tells them where to put the tap. And then this could just be a reference view. You don't really need to put much more than that. That's done. That's built. That's ready to build. Like I said, it just depends on how fancy you want to get with it. And like I said, you can also do big, complex, bathroom details as well. So there'll be a lot more time involved in detailing that out. But you have a lot of cool tools to filter and tag with here. Yeah, any questions?
Stephen, could you go through the numbering process? Part numbering?
Yeah. Let's go right here. Go back. Great. Okay. Yeah, so part numbers, you would just select and come to number items. And you have a lot of options here. Here's the main part number, and there's some cool tools that you can use here, because a lot of times, what was the last number we used, right? This will help you with that. So just you can say next number, and it's going to give you the highest number available out of all duct pipe hangers. The last number we used was 210. So start you at 211. Or just give me the next highest duct number, which is also happens to be 211. You could say, give me the next highest pipe number. Right. Last number we used on pipe was 176. That's when it started at 177. With hangers, we haven't numbered any hangers. The next available hanger for numbers is 1. So you can use this, which is really nice. Just type in your number that you want. You do have a prefix and a suffix here. I don't normally use those, but you can. And these are separate values. They're not part of the part number directly, and there's good reasons for that. But you can combine one or more parameters in any tag. So you can have prefix, part number, suffix, and you can still number tag that way. You can still do it. You can combine all those values in a single column in a schedule. So if you want to see prefix, part number, suffix, you absolutely can see that. But as far as the parameters are concerned, properties, these are stored in prefix and suffix here. Okay. So you can set those when you're numbering. And so, but also, CAD, CAM, and S, they don't see parameters, right? So if I do have a prefix and suffix, I can go ahead and push those to a custom data that CAD, CAM, and S can see. So I'm going to push prefix to custom data 1, put prefix to custom data 2, and this is going to show you all the custom data available in your database, right? And so when I number that, it's going to go ahead and give me those prefixes and push them to the part number. Now you can hover over all of these, and it'll kind of tell you what this is. Compare services. So one thing that a lot of people like to do is they select their supply and they number that, and they select their return and they number that, and select their exhaust and they number that. You don't have to do that with this check. You could select, box it all, and it will put them into categories and then number them. So you won't have your supply part numbers mixed up with your exhaust, for example. So that's what this checkbox does. But a lot of people, and a lot of times, supply and return are the exact same spec. They're using the same metal, same connectors, same gauge. So if I have an elbow in the supply service and I have an elbow in the return service, I don't really care. It's the same elbow. You can put it in supply or return. That's how I like to number stuff. But like I said, you have a lot of options here. Keep existing numbers. So if I've already numbered stuff, don't renumber it, even if I selected it. Use existing numbers is really nice, but this will take some time, especially on a large project. Say you finished a project and you get an addendum 6 months later, and you model that out, and then you want to number it, but you want it to have the same part numbers as the old parts, or say it's still in progress, right? And you have staging points, you have rooms full of duct and pipe. You send out a Connex or a truckload full of duct, and you scotch track it to the second floor, and you throw it all in this room, and the part numbers are still going to drive, right? You're not going to be stepping over 7 parts just to find the right part. So that's what they're, and then unique numbers, it's not going to compare for quality at all. That's what that's here for. And then sorting priority, this is really cool. And this is something that our part number program does that no other one does is, so basically when you're just randomly selecting parts, it's already going to be in some order. And that order is just basically how it landed in your selection set. So what this does is it's going to give it some meaningful order to your numbers, and that's very useful for manufacturing and even installation and logistics. I'll tell you kind of more about that here in a minute. But as you can see here, it's sorting by specification and service type and shape, double and single wall. So basically, all your stuff in this specification, they're going to have consecutive numbers, or at least they're going to have numbers grouped together. Like you're not going to have numbers mixed between double and single wall, even if you selected them all. You're not going to have mixed numbers between liner and different gauges, and you can also control what's most important to you. Out of the box, this is set up really well. You probably won't need to mess with this very much. But what you do get from that here.
So, Stephen, if I'm understanding this correctly, if we hit the compare services box, let's say, for instance, starting at 1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you swipe it over, it'll finish, let's say, the exhaust, whatever number it finishes, and then the very next number it'll go into supply.
Exactly. And a lot of people like to do that.
We actually use so like I said, like we said in the email, we're looking for replacements for Evolve. So the way we do it with Evolve is we create a bunch of filters for our services, and each one has a starting number. This way we kind of have a uniform set that we send out to the field. 2,000 is our low side, 4,000 is our high side for supply, and then we'll have a separate 3,000 for high side exhaust, 6,000 for low side exhaust, things like that. So this one we'd probably have to just element filter through everything.
Sure. If you have a very specific way and you have numbers that you have in mind that you want to start with for different services, you can absolutely do that. Now, supply and return in this database are just the same spec. But this is actually supply and return, right? I could come up here and say, just give me supply service, right? Give me return service, and then boom, and then number, and then do it again, and then number, and then do it again, and then. Now, when you do it this way, it will sort. It will do that for you, but it's going to pick the numbers for you. You don't stop. But let me show you that you might want to consider not doing it that way, but you still can. What we do get, and this is in our dev blog. We do have a dev blog, and there's lots of good stuff on our website, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. I encourage you guys to go check all that out. But what you get from this is, for example, when you go to schedule your ductwork, you're going to get all of your, for example, you'll get all of your 22 gauge, right? And then all your 24. And before that, you'll get your 20. So you're not constantly changing out the coil, right? So you can you can box the whole floor, or just an area, level 1 area A, number it all together, send it to the shop, and when you send it to the shop, it's going to be in a manageable chunk. It's going to give them, all of their gauges put together, all of the connectors put together, all of the insulations put together, right? You're not switching from line to unlined, right? You're going to build all of your 22 gauge unlined, and then build all your 22 gauge lined. It's also going to sort by, and notice your part numbers are also sorted in this nice way. Same thing with fittings, right? And you have a lot of control over how this is done. But you do get this kind of this is what the part number sorting algorithm has to offer you, which is really nice. And it might replace kind of it. I mean, what you're doing right now is you're sorting. You're just doing it manually. This might provide a way for you to not do that anymore. and also provide, kind of a way to just number big chunks and send big chunks to the shop, because the more interchangeable parts that we have, the better it is, right? That it revolutionized American industry 225 years ago. Right, so I'm a big firm believer in interchangeable parts and using as many of those as you can, and this kind of allows that. But also, when you number big chunks, say you number the whole floor or just the area, when you go back to break these up into spools, it's going to be ordered in the same meaningful way, right? So here we have a chill water pipe schedule, straights first, fitting second, sorted by size and length. Really nice. Here's my 14-inch round. There's my 10, all my straights, all my fittings. And like I said, you have a lot of control over that. Here's the connector sizes. And then when I go to break this up into spools, it's going to be ordered in this same way. Let's see, and we're over the hour. I want to be respectful of your guys' time. We can do more of these if you need to. Is there any more questions or things you'd like me to point out?
For the auto tagging and piping, I know this is a pretty simple, chilled water run. But when we have, distribution floor and we have a whole bunch of piping put together, how does the auto tag work in situations like that where it's a very dense floor of piping?
Well, you do have a lot of control. This is kind of big pipe. I'm not sure what my settings are for this, but let's just auto tag it and see. Actually, let me lock this. It's not going to let me, because I am in a 3D view. You can tag 3D views, but they have to be locked. Like, for example, tag. That's tag. See, I've got it centered on C1. And you can easily kind of just give me size tags on those. Right. It's gonna automatically place it wherever you asked it to place. And you do have options like if this was small pipe, it would move it out. Right. But if you had like a really dense rack, right, then it's going to miss it's going to, check the size of the pipe, but it's not going to see other tags, right? Or say you have a bunch of details in your linked model below that's making this tag hard to see, right? That's still going to be an issue. But like I said, for racks and tight stuff, you can rack tag this stuff. Does that answer your question? You do have, it's the same as the ductwork. Like right now, I have my size tag on C1. Number tag should be on C2. So when I go to number this, number tag is on C2. And if I had that set up to check the size of the pipe, it would move it if it didn't fit.
Yeah, so it just acts the same way. We would have to do manual tagging for everything, unless it's on a nice, straight rack. Yeah, so no change there.
Yeah, but like I said, you do have a lot of control. That's really nice for ductwork. I understand that piping it's not tagged the same. But yeah, I can easily select these and these. Oh, actually, let me go to this service and say if the size tag doesn't fit, move it above. And then if the number tag doesn't fit, move it below. Okay. And select these two little pipes. So I'm going to say tag, size tag. Probably didn't need size here. But, so I mean it depends on kind of how you want to do it. It for the scope of the automated tag tool, it wants to put it up against the pipe or up against the object or in the object. As long as you know that's what you're working with, you can set it up to where you can get a lot of automation and time saving, even for plumbing and piping services. But yeah, like I said, a lot of piping guys they don't they don't like this. Not necessarily that they don't like it, they just do something different. A lot of them, they like to use leaders. And that's another thing that's coming. Next update, you'll be able to put it on C2, but you kind of put it out here with the leader pointing to C2. Right. So that's coming. That's not here now, but yeah.
And Stephen, last one for me. On the trial for 2021, I saw there was an export for total station for the GTV points.
Yes, that's not available yet. We're working on that.
Got it. Okay. Do you happen to know if those will be also accounting for exporting nested points inside of families?
Yes, we're definitely going to make sure that we support that because we have
Perfect.
We have our sleeves do our sleeves are like that, and also like you said, you use a custom sleeve. So let me go ahead and manual opening right there. So this is a sleeve family. And you say you use your own. Well, what you can do, and in the future, you might be able to just go into the services and select your family like you do with tags. But for right now, if you want it, you could absolutely come in here and customize it and put, your company's data on this part or copy. Yeah. And like, here's the embedded points. If you have different points that you wanted to use, you could absolutely do that. I do recommend putting a dummy connector because with a dummy connector on anything, when you're building accessories in families, definitely put a dummy connector on it, just kind of like we did in Academy P. Because if you do have that dummy connector, you do get elevations, which is really nice, especially if you want to detail these sleeves out later. You could put elevation tags on it and stuff like that.
Right. And actually, right now that you mentioned it, I did have one more thing. So looking at this one here, does the family for the sleeve account for insulation?
Yes.
Or when it's taking okay, it does.
Yes. And if you come to your services and you look at your opening specs and kind of hover over this oversize here.
Right. And the oversize is accounting for the insulation, essentially.
Right. So if we hover over this, it's going to say it's going to be inside dimension plus insulation plus whatever you type here.
Got it.
Yeah. And length, it should probably say something about the wall. It doesn't. But it's just going to, but here's that's another good thing. I manual sleeve this. So it didn't have a wall to pull the length from because it's a manual sleeve. So it did control the size, but manual sleeves were still responsible for the length. Be aware of that. Here and change that. Not 24 feet. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, we're over the top of that hour, but there's so many more tools here, guys, that we haven't covered. This filter is really useful, and if you're familiar with these. It's the same thing that we use in views to control what's visible and what's not. You can get really fancy with this, and you can use all the fancy fabrication data. You can do filters with these, and then so like I said, this is a really quick filter. This is going to handle 90% of your filtering. Right, once you get the hang of it, and you don't have to write any filters, it's all at your fingertips. You can you can filter by material, you can filter by item type, insulation, even connectors. Like give me all the raw connectors. I could do that real easy right here. But if I'm looking for something real specific, then I can come up here and use this the filter tool. And so basically, that's showing us all of these rules. And we can use multiple of them. So give me all my 2-inch and all my 4-inch in the view. And you have operator here. You say, give me 2-inch or 4-inch, give me not. And you can get different stuff here. Also, it's a quick tool to just say, give me all that. Filter the view. No. Filter the selection. And then isolate. Isolate that stuff real quick. work with that, come back up here, filter, show all. Lots of cool stuff can be done with that as well. Yeah, disconnect, reconnect. Let me show that off real quick. So something that happens a lot is if you change the length of this, for example, we'll make this 24 inches. It disconnected that, and it's going to be like, I don't want a short joint here. So what I can do is just move from here to there, right? Or if I made this flat on the left, I'm going to get a disconnect here, right? I can then quickly grab all that. Go from there to there, right? That's all connected. Lots of QC tools here. Finding your short joints. Check this out when you have time. It'll also give you, like, you can set a maximum angle on your transitions and sort of help you QC. Turn all the transitions that might be too radical red. Turn all the short joints that should be evaluated for deletion, right? This is gonna, so if I hover over this, it's gonna identify non-standard straights with a tolerance. So what I can do is, because you're gonna have non-standard straights, especially on a large project, they're not necessarily a bad thing. And then if you just schedule it, everything is non-standard, it's gonna be overwhelming. So what this does is it lets you kind of distill your non-standards down into something that you might actually do something about. So give me all the non-standards within 2 inches of standard. Then I can go evaluate those and determine whether or not I can make them standard. Also, give me all the minimum straights. Anything less than 6 inches, make that red. Or I can schedule those. This is another thing you can do. And then you can go evaluate all those short joints. Maybe you can suck them up with a fitting. Transitions, you can find transitions that are, too radical. Throat radiuses, boot length multiplier, that is smack. Now you have the sort of the boot on a shoe tap has to be a certain size depending on the size of the tap. Max P-traps. So this will actually measure the drop to your P-trap, and a lot of plumbing codes says that you can only have so much drop to your P-trap. This will find those missing part numbers, disconnections, inverted straights. Oh, that's another thing I should point out real quick before I let you guys go, is we do have an attacher arrow. This is pretty important, especially for Chimo. So if you're familiar with CAD MEP, it had an attacher arrow. Now the attacher arrow shows you C1 is going to be the gray sphere. You always know your primary connector by this gray sphere, and then what is up to this, what this fitting thinks is up, is the green arrow. And if you click on, this is just kind of the way that Revit works internally. You're not seeing this, but this actually exists. So which way is up just depends on which way this shoe tap is facing, which is fine for the tap. It's not an offsetting fitting, so this isn't super important. The problem arises when we go, now this value carries over. So the problem arises when we go and we put a tap on, or a transition on this. Now it's carried over that idea of up, which is down, which means top flat will be bottom, bottom flat will be top, and left and rights are swapped. So when you, and then when you go put an offset tag on this, it's going to be like it'll still build correctly. It's just not describing correctly or flipped correctly. And so, and it's kind of, not intuitive, because when I come in here and I'm like, if I say top flat, flat top, it's going to give me flat bottom, right? Because of this this problem with the attacher arrow. So what we can do is this makes us aware of that. It's inherited this idea of which way is up from this tap, which is wrong. So I put this on there. I'm aware of it now. I can come up here and say, get that arrow pointing up, and now top flat is going to be top flat, right? Right flat will be right flat, and any offset tags that I place on this fitting will also make sense, right?